Okay, so you're going into your third decade now of military defense, and so there's a lot of things that probably don't surprise you. So, but I'm sure that there are certain things that even veterans like yourself, a longtime veterans, that actually get surprised of like outcomes or what things are, how things are coming about. Can you tell me any stories of like recent things that maybe some outcomes that were unexpected with all of your experience? Any kind of cool stories like that?
I'm always surprised by the stupidity of young prosecutors, right? And so there's this notion of win at all costs in the military system, and I'm a little bit on my high horse because I just came back from a couple cases, and I've got one coming up this weekend where the notion of win at all costs is just mind blowing to me. Where you have these young prosecutors, these O3s, brand new rocking three ribbons, who are supervised by an O4, who's supervised by an O5. So there's experience there, but they have this win at all cost mentality to win these cases. And oftentimes you have these absolute pieces of garbage cases that should never go to trial, where an Article 32 hearing officer who's a JAG reviews the case and determines whether there's probable cause or not. And I've had a couple cases recently where the hearing officer said there's no probable cause. I mean, probable cause is a low standard. And if there's not even probable cause, how is this case shouldn't warrant going to trial? But what happens is from there, it goes up to the commanding general, and the old man, the convening authority, the Wizard of Oz, the godlike figure that's the CG, decides to send it forward. And now you have a staff judge advocate who advises them. And all of a sudden, the case goes from being garbage to being the crime of the century because they need to appease the old man, and they don't have the moral courage to say, hey, sir, this case should not be going to trial. And then from there, that gets pushed down to the major, it gets pushed down to the captain. And a case where literally these prosecutors are telling me, it's probably going to get, quote, killed at the 32. Now it's the crime of the century, and they're trying to appease the convening authority. And so now they play fast and loose with the rules. They deny all of your witnesses. They go in and take a case to trial, which is clearly never going to win. And they do it all, under the auspices of, well, we need to appease the convening authority or the CG. And they go into trial, and now you've got a jury, even though the jury is selected by the convening authority. I understand there's Article 25 criteria, but they go in there, and the jury's made up of human beings. I mean, these are officers, senior officers and NCOs, and they'll pitch this nonsense. They'll get up and look like absolute fools in front of a jury, and you can even see the puzzled looks on the jury's faces, like, what the hell are you talking about? And then the case results in a full acquittal. And the prosecutors wonder, how the hell do we not get a conviction in this case? Well, you shouldn't have never have taken it to begin with. And then it's always blaming the defense counsel. Oh, we're the dark side. We're in there. This guy should have been convicted. He hired a good lawyer. Well, look yourself in the mirror, prosecutors, staff judge advocates, chiefs of justice, about the cases you're taking. So maybe the surprise isn't necessarily a story for at least this film or this video. The surprise is the absolute lack of moral courage that I see these young officers, these young prosecutors have, and even the more senior ones, to look at a case for what it is and not take it to trial because they're too scared of a congressional or too scared of a, quote, victim saying, well, you didn't prosecute my case.
Do you feel that maybe that this has actually increased over the past?
There's absolutely no question that this has increased. There's zero question in my mind, being in my third decade of doing this, over 20 years now of doing this, I've seen an increase. The notion of win at all cost prosecutions, I have seen it in the last couple of years more so than I've ever seen that.